Karen Carpenter longed for the same things many of you did when you were young: marriage, children, a home where the lights were on for her when she walked through the door. She found the words to sing about love for millions of strangers, but struggled to find a love that felt safe and steady when the microphones were turned off. This is the story of the heartaches behind the songs, the relationships, the brief marriage, and the quiet question she carried to the end: will I ever be loved for myself, not just for my voice? The life she wanted. Karen did not dream of being a superstar. Friends and biographers describe her deepest wish as very simple: a husband who loved her, a couple of children, and a peaceful home life where she could cook, decorate, and be just normal between tours. In private conversations, she told other artists, like Olivia Newton-John, that what she really wanted was a happy marriage and a family of her own. On paper, she had everything but that. By her late 20s, she had money, fame, awards, and a global audience, yet still came home to the same childhood house in Downey, sleeping in the same bedroom she had as a teenager. The schedule was relentless. Years with more than 150 concerts, plus TV specials, recording sessions, and travel that left almost no room to date, rest, or figure out who she was when she was not Karen Carpenter, the voice. Many of you know what it feels like to work hard your whole life and still come home to an empty chair at the table. Karen understood that feeling too. Early relationships and almosts. In the 1970s, as the Carpenters dominated the charts, Karen did try to build a personal life. Biographical sources and friends recall a series of relationships, some brief, some serious, with men from the music and entertainment world. She dated record executive Mike Curb for about 2 years. She was involved with Terry Ellis, a music manager. She spent time with actor Steve Martin and later dated Tom Baylor, a songwriter and producer closely connected to the Carpenters' circle. One of the most discussed relationships is with Tom Baylor. Some fans and writers have linked her song "Merry Christmas, Darling" and later "Heartbreak" to this period, although the details are often colored by speculation and should be treated carefully. What is consistent across accounts is this: Karen kept choosing men who were busy, powerful, or emotionally complicated. Men who sometimes saw her more as an icon than as a vulnerable woman who needed care. Biographers and friends suggest that low self-worth, shaped by family dynamics and her illness, may have made it harder for her to walk away when she felt uneasy or mistreated. When you have spent your whole life feeling not enough, you can start to accept less than you deserve in love. The whirlwind marriage. Then in 1980 came the man who seemed, at least at first, to promise everything she wanted. In April 1980, Karen met Thomas James Burris, a 39-year-old real estate developer, at a Los Angeles restaurant. He was older, confident, polished, and presented himself as a successful businessman and devoted father to an 18-year-old son from a previous marriage. Within 2 months, he proposed. In June 1980, they were engaged. Friends were uneasy. They worried about the speed of the relationship, the age gap, and the fact that so little was really known about him. But for Karen, tired, lonely, and increasingly desperate for a home and family, it must have felt like a door finally opening. On August 31st, 1980, they were married at the Beverly Hills Hotel's Crystal Room in a lavish ceremony attended by friends, family, and industry figures. Richard wrote, "Because We Are in Love," the wedding song from her, for her, and a recording of Karen singing it was played as she walked down the aisle. To the outside world, it looked like a fairy tale moment, the lonely star finally finding her happy ending. But even before she reached the altar, that dream had already begun to crack. The secret that broke her heart just days before the wedding rehearsal. Burris told Karen something he had kept from her throughout their brief courtship. He had undergone a vasectomy years earlier. He knew that having children was one of her deepest desires, and he had spoken about a future family with her, but had not mentioned that he might not be able to give her that. Biographer Randy Schmidt and other accounts describe Karen as devastated by the revelation, feeling betrayed and misled. According to these sources, she wanted to call off the wedding. When she turned to her mother Agnes for support, Agnes reportedly refused to let her back out, emphasizing the money spent and the social embarrassment that canceling would cause. So Karen walked down the aisle with a broken heart, already knowing that the life she had dreamed of, babies, a home, a simple family rhythm, might never happen with this man. Some of you may know that feeling, going through with something big because it feels too late to say no, because you do not want to disappoint your family or cause a scene. Karen knew that feeling too. A home that wasn't safe. After the wedding, Karen and Tom moved into a condominium in Newport Beach, California. On the outside, it looked like the beginning of a new life. A beautiful home by the ocean, a glamorous husband, and the possibility of stability after years of relentless work. Inside, things were very different. Friends later described the marriage as emotionally abusive and financially exploitative. According to multiple accounts, Burris asked Karen for large sums of money, tens of thousands of dollars at a time, for business deals and personal use. Some reports claim he spent her earnings freely while contributing little of his own. There are also testimonies from friends who say they saw bruises and heard stories that suggested physical and verbal abuse, including cruel comments about her body at a time when she was already dangerously underweight and struggling with anorexia. Out of respect for Karen, and because some details come from secondhand sources, it is important to be cautious and not sensationalize. But even the more conservative accounts agree on one thing. This marriage, which she entered hoping for safety and love, quickly became another source of fear and pain. Friends like Karen Kamen later described the relationship as the worst thing that could have happened to her, saying it crushed what was left of her emotional resilience at a time when her health was already fragile. Loneliness, illness, and the choices we make. By the time Karen married Tom Burris, her anorexia was already advanced. She had been dangerously underweight since the mid-1970s. She was exhausted from years of touring. Her solo album, recorded with producer Phil Ramone, had been shelved after criticism from Richard and A&M, leaving her feeling rejected in her attempt to define herself outside the Carpenter's image. In that vulnerable state, wanting desperately to be loved and to have a home of her own, it is not hard to see why she might have ignored warning signs others saw clearly. Low self-worth, shaped by childhood dynamics and intensified by her illness, likely made it harder for her to believe she deserved better. This is not a story about blaming her for her choices. It is a story about understanding why those choices made sense to her at the time. When she sang about love, about beginnings, promises, forever, it was not just for the audience. It was also for herself. She wanted to believe those words could come true in her own life. Separation and aftermath. The marriage lasted roughly 14 months. By late 1981 and 1982, Karen was spending more time back in Downey and working on her health in New York while the relationship unraveled. On October 28, 1982, she filed for divorce from Burris. Even in separation, sources say he continued to rely on her financially, borrowing large amounts of money while she tried to rebuild her life and her body. By then, Karen was emotionally and physically depleted. A failed solo project, a failed marriage, and a body damaged by years of illness. Friends and biographers often describe this period as a breaking point. The dream of a simple, safe home life had collapsed. The one place she thought she might finally be loved without conditions had instead deepened her isolation. Millions of people heard her sing, "We've only just begun," sometimes, and "All you get from love is a love song," and felt those lyrics speak to their own relationships. But behind the scenes, Karen Carpenter, one of the most loved voices on earth, was going to bed alone, wondering if real, unconditional love would ever be hers. The gap between the songs and the life. There is a painful irony at the center of Karen Carpenter's story. Night after night, she stood on the stage and sang about love that lasts, love that heals, love that feels like home. Couples chose her songs for their first dances. Soldiers listened to her voice overseas and dreamed of coming back to the person they loved. Parents played her records while tucking their children into bed. Her voice became the sound of security and tenderness for millions of people. Yet in her own life, love was complicated, conditional, and often painful. A mother who struggled to say, "I love you." A career that demanded perfection. A disease that told her, day after day, that she was not thin enough, not good enough, not worthy. A marriage that began with a lie and ended in betrayal. She gave the world love songs, but she was still searching for a place where she could put down the microphone, hang up the stage clothes, and be loved simply as Karen, a woman in sweatpants on the couch, hair pulled back, no makeup, no expectations. Some of you know exactly what that feels like, being admired for what you do, but not always seen for who you are. The question that lingers: why is it that some of the most loved people on earth struggle the most to feel loved in private? Maybe it is because the version of themselves the world adores is carefully edited. The voice, the image, the performance, while the real self, with all its fears and flaws, stays hidden. Maybe it is because when millions of strangers are watching, it becomes harder and harder to admit weakness, to say, "I am lonely," or "I chose the wrong person," or "I do not feel worthy of love at all." Karen Carpenter's love life was not a tabloid scandal. It was a human story. A gentle, gifted woman who wanted what so many of you wanted: a home, a partner, a safe place to land, and who kept finding that fame could not buy the one thing she needed most. Millions heard her sing about love. Very few knew how much she was still searching for it. Somewhere tonight, someone is putting on a Carpenter's record and remembering a first dance, a long-ago romance, or a partner who is no longer here. As you listen to that voice, maybe you will hear something different now. Not just the perfection of the performance, but the quiet longing underneath. If Karen's story touches something in you, share this video with someone who loved her music. And in the comments, would you be willing to tell us, which Karen Carpenter song connects most to your own love story, and why? Do you think people who are loved by millions can ever fully trust that they are loved for themselves, not just their gifts? Looking back, what do you wish someone close to Karen had said or done for her when she walked down that aisle in 1980?